October 7th changed our lives. Israel will never be the same, and this is evident today, not only to those who served in the Israeli army and have lived in Israel for decades, but even to those who arrived in Israel on the eve of the events of October 7th.
On the 6th of the 10th, my son returned from a 10-day visit to America, visiting his mother. The next morning I go to pray, and as we're dancing, we start to hear sirens. I go home at the end of davening, quickly, and I go to my son, who's still fast asleep in bed with jet lag, and say, "Wake up, we're at war." He says, "Shut up," and rolls over. 5 minutes later, he runs out and says, "I have 10 minutes to leave. I've got to go back to the base right now." He left me, and I spent the rest of the day wondering what was going to happen to my son, if I'd ever see him again.
Throughout the history of the existence of the Jewish state, there has never been such a number of peaceful hostages, women, children, elderly. Some of them survived the catastrophes of European Jewry. And today, they are still in the hands of savage, bloodthirsty terrorists in the Gaza Strip, who mock, rape, and torture them.
I was there myself on October 7th when everything was happening, and I saw clearly with my own eyes the need and the importance for every single one of us to step up and do what we need to do.
I went down to the Gaza border region where I had the opportunity to treat hundreds of people, and with many different difficult wounds. And the realization that came upon me was the importance of defending in the time of great need.
You know, as a citizen living in Jerusalem, it's become abundantly clear that we need to be ready for worst case scenarios. Unfortunately, October 7th was a big reminder to all of us, a wake-up call that you can't always rely on the police, you can't always rely on the military.
3 months ago, we witnessed the intentions of our enemies. I cannot stand down and watch from the sidelines what could happen. That's why I joined the response team. A joint of people ready to do something for the safety and preserve the feeling of safety of the citizens here in Jerusalem.
Literally in the first days after the October 7 massacre, this group came together to protect their neighborhood.
The infamous Israeli army, which completely controlled the sea, sky, land, around, above, and inside the Gaza Strip, proved to be completely incapable of protecting its citizens who prayed for help, called on the army to come and save them throughout Saturday, October 7th, and never received this help, and they were taken into slavery, exchanged, ransomed in the Gaza Strip. And the fact that today, such units as our defense units took upon themselves the responsibility to prevent the next October 7th is nonsense. In a country with a huge budget, the most modern technologies, and the most powerful army in the region, ordinary citizens, former soldiers, former special forces, dressed up, armed themselves, and stood up to defend their neighborhoods. When we patrol the area, people approach us and thank us, shake hands, bring coffee and water. At first, I was surprised by this. I could not understand why. After all, soldiers and policemen walk down the street, but no one approaches them. After a few days, I understood. The inscription on our identification caps, Defense Unit, instills in them hope and confidence that there will be someone to come to their aid. Unlike the army and police on October 7th in the border areas with the Gaza Strip, because we are here, we live in this area, we don't need to go anywhere. We defend our home, and we are for them, for our neighbors, for the residents of the area, the last hope and stronghold.
From the first days of the war, I heard that David, my comrade in arms, is part of a rapid response group. We have known each other for more than 20 years. We work together in the security of East Jerusalem. And I immediately volunteered to help. Although I have been out of the Army Reserve for more than 10 years. In the Army, I served in the Nahal Brigade.
Actually, when David, my close friend, called me here, I immediately responded. Because there is no such format. where civilian individuals like us, who are not subject to compulsory service for one reason or another. There is no such format. How we can protect our people and somehow express our position in this regard. Nowhere do we see anything similar in terms of energy, contribution, strength, and quality of people who participate here.
We are civilians, retired from the army, demobilized, for example. I have been a civilian for 4 years now. Now we must return to service and take on the function that the state has borne for over 70 years. This is a big disappointment, big blow.
And I can tell you this organization does crucial, amazing work that I'm able to see that we're in the time of need, we'll be able to respond for the citizens of Jerusalem and for the people of Israel.
The next October 7th could be tomorrow morning, and no one can predict when it will happen. But after the events of October 7th, 2023, it is absolutely obvious that sooner or later it will most likely happen. And if you take our unit that protects the center of Jerusalem, it sounds beautiful, the center, but our unit controls the territory from the walls of the old city, from the borders of East Jerusalem. From there, from the first Jewish quarters, you can walk for 30 seconds.
The danger and risk is present, and it can occur at any time. The adjacent neighborhoods are a few minutes from the city center, and we will be the first ramparts to protect as many citizens as possible.
Our neighbors in East Jerusalem, our cousins there, are 400,000 of them. They have more weapons than we do. They are better organized than us, because in East Jerusalem, nationalist, terrorist groups, and criminal elements have united around the common goal of striking at the Jewish quarters of Jerusalem.
We're surrounded by people who we know are educated, brainwashed, funded internationally just to kill us. Why? I don't know.